Is this Red Sox trade proposal so absurd that it kind of works? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. Today, we are breaking down a trade that looks absolutely ridiculous on paper. But if you break it down a little bit, I don't know, there may be something to it. Now, I've seen this trade proposed a few times by some of you guys, whether in live streams or the comment section. But the reason we are talking about it today is because Nesson, yes, that Nesson, has a blog site where Tim Crowley proposed two trades to finish off the Red Sox offseason. One of them was a Nolan Arenado trade and a Ryan Helsley trade, which we've talked about, I think, ad nauseum at this point. And the other one was trading with the San Diego Padres for one of either Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, or Tatis Jr., and reliever Robert Suarez. Now, the reason this was brought up is not because Tim Crowley is just seeing shiny objects in San Diego and saying, I want those guys. No, it's because the San Diego Padres are having financial issues right now, and there is rumors around the league that they're going to need to trade one of these big contracts. For the Padres, I would assume the number one option here would be Xander. As a Red Sox fan, personally, I don't want Manny Machado anywhere near a Red Sox uniform. That's just me being petty. I don't know, maybe it's too much, but I don't want to see him anywhere near a Red Sox uniform. Tatis would be the knight in shining armor, right? That would be the golden knight. He would be the face of this franchise for like 10 years. I would die to have Fernando Tatis Jr. on the Red Sox. Full sacrifice to get him on this team. I don't think the Padres are going to trade him unless it's last resort type stuff, which just sort of leaves Xander Bogaerts returning to the Boston Red Sox with Robert Suarez. Now, the absurd part of this trade is certainly not Suarez. In fact, Suarez would probably be a really solid piece for the Red Sox to go out and acquire, especially if the Padres are listening to offers on him. Last season, he was fantastic. He had a 2.77 ERA out of the bullpen, which was a 1.49 ERA plus, 49% above league average production. It was a 3.49 FIP and a 1.046 WHIP. The dude walks virtually no one with just a 2.2 walks per nine as well. And he closed out more than a few games for the San Diego Padres. He was a really valuable bullpen piece last year. It was an all-star season for him. Plus, he has the potential to be here for 3 more seasons with player options for the 26 and 27 seasons. So he could be a long-term bullpen piece as well. At $10 million a year, for the Red Sox to bring in somebody who would be kind of a certified back end of the bullpen type stud, I don't think is a problem at all, right? If he's available, I think the Red Sox should absolutely go after a Robert Suarez type arm. It's a name that's been mentioned a few times this offseason as potentially being available. We don't really know what San Diego's thinking, so not really the absurd part of this trade. The absurd part of this trade is obviously taking back Xander Bogaerts. Now, it's not so much Xander Bogaerts the player, it's more so Xander Bogaerts the money. Xander Bogaerts signed an absolutely absurd contract with the San Diego Padres. It was a very long deal. Even at the time, as Red Sox fans, we knew that this was a massive overpay. I think the only way you can even remotely consider this trade is if the Padres take on, I think at bare minimum, half of Xander Bogaerts' deal. Anything less than that, it just simply makes absolutely no sense for the Red Sox to take on that many years, still 9 years left on that contract, and that much money. He's getting paid about $24.5 million a year, a little bit more than that if my calculations are correct. It's showing on the screen now if they aren't. The contract itself is terrible, right? Xander Bogaerts over the last couple of years in San Diego sort of really wasn't himself, or at least the Red Sox version of Xander Bogaerts we know and love, especially last season where he really saw a dip. He struggled both health and statistically with just a 264 average, just a 307 on base percentage, and his slug dipped to 381 for a 92 OPS plus in 111 games over in San Diego. Those statistics still has 9 years on his deal. However, I do think that deal would look much more appealing to Boston and Red Sox fans if the Padres were to take on, again, that bare minimum of half that contract. Because right now, instead of a 9-year, $229 million still left on that contract, it would change to a 9-year, $114.5 million deal. That would be just $12.7 million a season for Xander, who I honestly think could kind of solve exactly everything the Red Sox are looking for right now, right? Xander Bogaerts I think we all know exactly who he could be. He is a contact forward guy who shown he can have power potential at Fenway Park, right? I think we're well versed in how good Xander could be at Fenway. He is a leader in the clubhouse, and defensively, he wasn't great at shortstop over his career with the Red Sox statistically, but you never really feared him at that shortstop position. Plus, in San Diego, they've sort of moved him off shortstop already and put him at second base, where last season, where he played a majority of his games, he was a well above average defender. On top of that, you also get that veteran leadership presence in the clubhouse. And not only just a veteran leader who has spent 10 seasons with the Boston Red Sox, right? On paper, it actually does make some sense for the Red Sox to go after this guy, especially at $12.7 million per year. And I think a lot of people are going to immediately point to, Corbin, what are we doing, right? This guy is regressing hard. He's owed a ton of money. Well, if we figure out the money side of things and it drops to 12.7, that's a much different conversation than what, 24.5 or whatever it was, right? That's a way big difference in the amount of money he's getting paid per year. And if we're talking in terms of statistics, the question I want to propose to you guys is it because Xander Bogaerts is getting worse because he's getting older, or is it because he went from playing at the second best hitting ballpark in baseball, Fenway Park, to the second worst hitting baseball park in Major League Baseball in Petco Park for 81 games a season? I don't know. Maybe that's a factor a little bit, right? I think maybe I got some rose-colored glasses on because Xander's the top 3 favorite player of all time for me, but I do think Xander would be able to put up better statistics than what he put up in San Diego if he were to come back to Boston. I don't know. The idea seems absolutely ridiculous, but breaking it down just a little bit, you take some of the money off of it, you take some of the statistics with a grain of salt because it's in San Diego for 81 games. Does it make a little bit of sense? The fit would be kind of wonky. You would have to play him at either second base, third base, but he does give you a little bit versatility, right? He's played third base, he's played second base, he's played shortstop. You can kind of move him around a little bit. I don't know. I kind of talking myself into the idea if the Padres are truly looking to shed any sort of salary and they're desperate to get rid of it, 12.7 for 9 years of Xander doesn't seem like the worst monetary hit in the world to me. Now the question becomes, how much is this going to take for the Red Sox to get him? Well, looking at baseball trade values, obviously, Xander Bogaerts is pretty negative in terms of trade value, right? That contract is absolutely ridiculous. It's right now looking like one of the worst in Major League Baseball. Robert Suarez is also negative for some reason. I've got to be honest with you, I don't entirely know why. Maybe it's because he's owed $10 million on a potential one-year deal, so he's a rental. That's what's dragging his value down. But either way, they're both negative players. Xander Bogaerts on the far negative, Robert Suarez slightly negative, but you add in the 114 point whatever million dollars that would be half of Xander Bogaerts' contract left, all of a sudden it's a pretty positive trade value. So it would take someone like Wilyer Abreu. Now, you may be sitting there saying, Corbin, that is way too much to pay for an aging Xander Bogaerts and a Robert Suarez. If you think about it, the Red Sox getting Robert Suarez for Wilyer Abreu may not match up in terms of baseballtradevalues.com, but on the field, it does make some sense. It makes room for Roman Anthony to come in and sort of take over the outfield. It also bolsters the Red Sox bullpen in a really big way, and then you get Xander Bogaerts at half off on top of that, just sort of the cherry on top. I don't hate that idea. I gotta be honest with you guys. This trade proposal feels absolutely absurd on paper, right? You look at this and go, this is absolutely ridiculous. What are we doing? Xander got paid way too much money. You take away the money factor, again, you put it under $20 million a year for Xander Bogaerts. That's about what you'd be paying $12.7 million or whatever it is. I think it's 12.7 per year is honestly less than a lot of the other impact bats you could be getting on this market. Even Nolan Arenado would cost more than that, and he's older than Xander Bogaerts. Right? And yes, the years would suck. Yes, the last couple of years of that deal would probably not look very good. But at the same point, once you get to that point, 2028, 2029, 2030 in that range, $12.7 million is going to be next to nothing for baseball players, right? Prices just continue to increase every single season. You'd essentially be paying him what you'd be paying someone you extended at 20 years old. You could kind of do anything you wanted with Xander. You could make him a full-time DH. You could make him a platoon bat. You could make him a bench player. player at that point, right? Because 12.7 should be absolutely nothing to the Boston Red Sox. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually don't hate the idea of this trade proposal. I thought I was going to hate the idea of this trade proposal coming in to this video, but take away the money, and it actually does make some sense. Now, that's obviously a massive caveat, right? The Padres are looking to get rid of cash. They might not want to attach anything to that Xander deal, which makes him virtually untradeable, right? You're not going to trade away a Willier to get Suarez in the entirety of Xander Bogaerts' contract. You're probably not trading away anybody to get that done, and I honestly don't know if this is something that would happen. I don't know if the Red Sox would be comfortable taking on Xander for 9 years, even at that price point. I would venture to guess probably not. I don't know if the Padres would be willing to eat half that contract. I guess it just sort of depends on how desperate they would be to get rid of Xander Bogaerts' contract and get some money back into their system to sort of supplement their financial issues right now. I would assume they would be willing to do that. I think this would come down to whether or not the Red Sox would be willing to do this. I would venture to guess probably not, right? I'd venture to guess this is more of a pipe dream than it is a possible reality at this point in the offseason. I don't know. Maybe it's just, again, my rose-colored glasses. Maybe I sit here and see the best of Xander Bogaerts and not what he's going to be over this 9 years of his contract. Maybe it is truly, hey, he's playing in a really hard-hitting ballpark right now. Obviously, his statistics are going to take a dip. Put him back into this Red Sox lineup. Bring back Rafi 2, Xander 3, Casas 4, Story 5. I don't know. I really like the idea of having him back home. I understand that this is sort of a homer take. I understand that this is Corbin's a fan of Xander Bogaerts, so he's going to want Xander home. But I did look into it a little bit, right? It's not like I just saw, oh, Xander's available, bring him back, right? Now I looked into what the ballpark was doing. His health issues, I think, are going to be a bit of a problem as he goes forward. But again, $12.7 million for a guy who plays, let's say, 120, 130 games a year is still absolutely worth it in terms of value. I understand the last few years are going to be tough, but again, if you make him a bench bat for the last 3 or 4 years of his contract, it's still going to be worth it in terms of value just because the Padres would be picking up half of it. So, yes, it's an absurd trade. Yes, it's ridiculous. No, it probably won't happen. Yeah, I kind of want it to happen. Yeah, I kind of want Xander Bogaerts back in a Red Sox uniform. It would be fun, it would be productive, and it would really help these young players develop in Major League Baseball. Imagine Roman Anthony gets the veteran presence of Xander Bogaerts, who similarly was a highly touted prospect, who very similarly helped the Red Sox, hopefully, right, fight for some championships, who's won multiple championships in Fenway Park, who's played multiple massive games for the Red Sox at Fenway Park. I don't know. I think there's a lot of benefit to bringing Xander back. The contact forward, the lack of strikeouts, even with the lack of power production over the last few years. To me, it makes some sense. But again, man, I have a soft spot for Xander, so I may be a little bit biased here. So I need your opinions in the comment section down below. If the Padres were willing to take on half of this contract, and that's a really big if, what would you do? Would you consider this trade proposal of Xander and Robert Suarez? Would you, if you were the GM of the Boston Red Sox, pull the trigger on this deal? Let me know all your thoughts on the possibility of bringing home our Xander Bogaerts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton, and it's the best way to let me know you enjoy this type of content. Don't forget, if you guys want to listen instead of watch these episodes, the best way to do that is to head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.